what is your? Because I had a conversation with one of our acquisitions guys yesterday, and the question was, what do you define as a rental? Right? It's such a broad question. It's such a
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's
so the conversation came about because he's like, hey, how come why aren't we interested in rentals? And I was like, where did you get that from? Right? We're
yeah,
always interested in rentals,
yeah.
but it comes down to, hey, well, I sent him this deal. We're all into it. It would be all be into it for 300. It'll appraise for 400. Yada yada.
It's not a rental.
That was that's what I was like, all right, come in here. And I pulled him inside, and one of the great things about being a lender is I can show him term sheets and everything. And I literally ran numbers on a house in Sherman. It was a new construction. He was trying to sell it for 270. He owes 220 on it, something around there. And he came to me for a refi. It didn't, it only met DSCR. It can only cash float enough to like up to 170, right? So he would be bringing the difference, 50 plus closing just to refi out.
Just to clarify, you're talking about one of your clients, not the deal that
So I took our acquisitions guy and I showed him the numbers
got it,
from
on
that
that
right?
deal.
So
Got
on
it.
that, and I'm
Because
saying,
in my mind, I'm like, wait a minute.
No,
if
sorry.
if he didn't talk to me about this, he's getting yelled at or
no.
something.
So
Like,
sorry. So I took him into my office. I'm like, look, this is a 250 house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's only cash flowing up to 170. How are you going to go and make a $300,000, right? If property taxes are 2.6%, right? You have all these additional costs. So, I then went, and it's just basic shit with acquisitions guys. They don't realize what makes a rental is if he has to buy it deep enough.
yeah.
So everything can be a rental as long as he's acquiring it deep enough.
Well,
And at the same time, I
Or at
told
the
him, I was
right
like,
numbers.
you're worried about the wrong things, right? As an acquisition guy, don't be worrying about the takeout, the exit, right? Like, your whole goal is to be buying it deep enough, acquiring it good enough.
Yeah.
If you want a rental, get under sub 2, right? Like, this way we can assume it.
Well, there's definitely there's definitely limits to what we can and cannot do on the rental side. There's limits to what we can and cannot do on the seller financing and the note side of the business. So all of those, there's a lot of layers to those onions that we have to evaluate. But yeah, when we're looking at a deal, whether it's a lot that we want to build on, a lot that we want to build to rent on, whatever, right? Or a duplex or a fourplex, whatever those things are, it only works if the numbers make sense, right? So just because we could buy something and someone says it's livable or it's there's nothing wrong with it, it needs no repairs, right? When those things come across my desk, I instantly start evaluating why. Why am I getting to see this? Right? What was the motivating factor for this house to be considered a distressed sale? That I'm getting it, right? Why, if it's worth, well, man, you could put this on the market and sell it for $350, whatever the number is. All right, well, they want $275 for it. Why don't they just put it on MLS, right? I'm always going back and like, why am I getting this, or why am I not getting documentation and there's tenants in the house? Well, where's the lease? Oh, they don't have a lease. I don't know who's there. Like, those sorts of things matter, and those are the things that I think people that are just transactionary, that are just trying to do,
Yeah, there's a difference between tenants and squatters, right? But
and family members.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think what makes a rental? Cash flow, right?
Right. It's but he wanted like such a cookie cutter answer, and I'm like, there isn't one. All right, anything can be a rental. You can get even if you get creative with it, right? If it's a short-term rental or something like that. Again, there's no cookie cutter box for that. So going into it and saying, "Hey, I can get this one and force it to be a rental," that it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, right. I mean, when I'm doing something, I must have at least 4 exit strategies for it. I never want something that I pigeonhole my exit strategy.
And the only way to get that is by buying by numbers, right? Buying by your numbers, sticking to them, and not saying, "Hey, I can pay it," because this is how it's like. This is where we went down. I was like, "What? Where's this coming from?" He's like, "Well, people always say I can pay a little bit more. I can pay up to 80% for a rental." I'm like, "No, get that out of your fucking head." Well, that is setting you up for failure, specifically in this market. If you're in a market that's settling or could potentially divot.
Not even that. That mentality, and we've been talking about it since we started doing the pod, whatever the hell we're doing, our show. Everyone's fooled by cheap money, right? And so if you're newer or younger coming into this game, you were used to dealing with people, investors who were getting access to 3% and 4% money. So they did go and they moved their buy box up to, I hate that term. They did just move they just moved the needle, right? And that's not necessarily what they should have done. They should have continued to buy at the other numbers, and they would have had bigger spread or bigger cash flow or room for error, right? But cheaper money made everybody a little crazy. Now that we have normalized money, you need to make normal decisions.